Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about Roe v. Wade, which has been a pretty, I would say, landmark Supreme Court finding here in the United States for about 50 years or so now. It's a very highly controversial topic, so I understand that there's a lot of, I would say, mixed emotions surrounding this topic. On one hand, you have people who feel like their rights have been violated and taken away from them today. Yet on the other hand, you have people who celebrate and say that this is a win for all Americans, who say that this is best for society and that this is the best way forward. Obviously, neither side, I don't think, at least anticipated for Roe v. Wade to be overturned as early as today, but obviously we had the whole draft leak just a few months ago where it was pretty much indicating that this was going to happen. But to be honest with you, I didn't expect for anything like this to come so soon. I thought that this was going to be something that was held for months down the road or something like that, but obviously that is not the case, as today the Supreme Court decided to overturn Roe v. Wade and to give individual states basically the individual choice to either allow or ban abortions by state. Now, this is going to immediately affect 13 states that already had set up trigger laws, basically meaning that these states had set it up to where if any sort of Supreme Court decision were to come down, if any sort of change in pace were to come down, it would basically, for the most part, be automatically illegal at a certain point to get abortions in these states. Now, before we go any further into the topic, I want to go ahead and say to please be respectful of one another in the comments. I know that I'm asking basically for a futile effort at this point because it's the YouTube comments to begin with, so they're already not civil, but obviously considering that we're talking about such an emotionally charged, such a divisive topic with this one, to please be respectful of other people's opinions. Please be respectful to one another. Please remember that at the end of the day, there's already plenty of stuff that divides us as people. We don't need to make another thing that it is that drives us even further apart. I feel like this is a time where our country has been needing to come together over these last few years, and things like this obviously have been driving a wedge between people. But I just want to get the facts out there. I just want to get, the information of what's going on out there. I'm not going to spend the time in this video, I guess, spilling the beans about my personal opinion on abortion and whether or not I think that this was okay. That isn't my intention today. I don't really feel it to be my place. I understand that this is my platform, but personally, I really just don't feel like it's absolutely necessary for me to just jump in and, throw my opinion in on this one. I just want to try to remain objective and talk about the facts of what's happening with the Supreme Court, what happened with the decision, and what this means for the future of Americans. The Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade and give individual states the choice of banning or allowing abortions will most immediately affect the 13 states that have trigger laws. These statutes were implemented in anticipation of Friday's ruling and are written to automatically go into effect following the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Some laws are expected to take effect almost immediately, while others are written to take effect about a month after the ruling. These are the 13 states with trigger laws that are expected to go into effect. And then it goes on to list the following states: Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. So within a month of today, these are the 13 states that already have laws in place pretty much affecting everyone who's trying to get an abortion, right? Now, these 13 states either vary from trying to basically ban them or restrict them from day one. Others, of course, are within 30 days. States like Wyoming or Tennessee are the ones, in Texas, they're the ones kind of going for like the 30 days thing. Other states, including ones like Utah, they expect theirs to go into effect basically within days. So if you live in these states, you will be the first states affected by any sort of rulings on abortions in this country. So you might be wondering, well, Optimus, what exactly was Roe v. Wade? Why was Roe v. Wade important to the abortion argument, and why did people support it? Why were people against it? A lot of people, they're just simply not that educated on the whole abortion issue. I also know that globally, abortion isn't as big of a concern as it is here in the United States in some places, so I just want to take the opportunity to explain this. Roe v. Wade was a decision made by the Supreme Court about 50 or so years ago that has basically given people constitutional protections when it comes to getting abortions. It's largely been hailed as either one of the most influential Supreme Court decisions that we've ever seen, or it's been completely looked at as one of the downfalls and pitfalls of America where we absolutely turned wrong, depending on what side of the argument you're on. Now, on one side of everything, you have people who are called pro-choice, okay? Now, these people are basically pro-abortion, or at least are pro-women getting abortions if they choose to. Now, actually, the majority of Americans are considered pro-choice, and actually pro-choice pro-choice mentality is at record highs here in the United States, meaning the majority of Americans actually support women's rights to get an abortion. Around 60% of Americans are currently pro-choice. These people believe that it is a woman's fundamental right to decide what she does with her body. They've determined that it's basically a woman's right to choose whether or not that they get an abortion, as of course they're the one who has to carry them for 9 months, or the one that has to carry them through term and everything, and basically have the child themselves. They basically said that, hey, women deserve to have this right to choose. There's even been other instances of reasons why these kinds of choices should be made, including ones where women are unfortunately sexually assaulted, if it's by family members or by even an unknown, person. They want to make sure that there's the ability for women in those instances to get abortions so that they're not forced to carry a child that they obviously don't want due to the circumstances. On the other instance, though, you have people who believe that abortion is either a religious sin or they believe that it's just morally wrong. Now, a good portion of the people who are against abortion, which is called being pro-life, are religious, and they believe that, life is like God's sacred creation. They believe that life is too precious to ever spare, and that the baby should be born regardless of circumstance. There's people who believe, that even, of course, in terms of like sexual assault, that there should be abortion, but are against it for other ways. It's really a pretty big mixed pot of opinions that's all together on this one, right? And unfortunately, with this decision now, there has been a pretty big uprising, right? There's been a pretty big cry, I guess, over this whole thing. In fact, if the mainstream media is to be trusted on this one, thousands of people have already gathered outside the Supreme Court building, both pro-life and pro-choice, to either protest or celebrate the results of what's happened today. There's likely going to be protests nationally, at least from what I see in this situation. I don't really see this being something that people don't protest about. We already saw back with the whole draft leak and everything a few months ago. People were already kind of taking up the protesting back then. They were kind of already getting involved then and going to protest when they saw that, because I don't know if they thought that was the actual opinion or if they thought that was indicative of what was to come. But if anything, it was indicative of what was to come, as we've seen today. But people, yes, are going to likely protest this. I don't know if Democratic lawmakers are going to try to get involved, if they're going to try to write some sort of legislation to codify it into law. But basically, the Supreme Court has decided today that it is not your constitutional right to get an abortion. So if you're a woman in this situation, you're obviously the one that's most affected by this entire thing, because women are the ones who, well, I would say primarily get abortions. And obviously, with all of this going on now, in multiple states, you're basically not going to be able to. So right now, it seems pretty split. It seems like half the states in the United States are probably going to outlaw abortion or are going to severely restrict abortion, which obviously isn't the same as outright outlawing it. But you're also going to have probably about half the states that are pro-choice, that are going to allow abortions, or at least going to ease the restrictions on abortions to make them more accessible, to make them more gettable, I guess, is a pretty safe way to put it. So all that I know is today is a historic day in the United States. One of the most influential Supreme Court decisions probably of all time has been struck down. Roe v. Wade is officially overturned, and the right on abortion is now turned back to the states. So of course, I want to see what you guys have to say down below. Please keep it respectful though. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, of course, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @subtooptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about abortion and signing out.